I didn't wake up that morning thinking my own front porch would turn into a standoff. I've stood in places where the ground shook under your boots, where the air smelled like fuel and dust and fear, and you learned real quick how thin the line is between calm and chaos. But standing there, key in hand boxes stacked against my hip, being treated like I didn't belong in the house I had just bought, yeah, that hit different. When I said I'm calling the Pentagon, it wasn't bravado, it wasn't a threat. It was the moment I realized the situation was slipping out of the realm of misunderstanding and into something dangerous. And the look on his face right then, that split second where confidence drained out of him, you know what I mean? That told me this was never about safety, it was about assumptions. The day had started quiet, almost peaceful. Gray sky, no rain, just that flat light that makes everything look a little muted. I'd driven back from D.C. after giving a leadership talk earlier that morning, one of those rooms full of people in pressed suits nodding while you remind them that authority doesn't mean much if you forget the human beings on the other end of it. After more than 2 decades in uniform, that message had become personal. I pulled into the driveway, shut off the engine of the government SUV, and just sat there for a second breathing. The house in front of me wasn't fancy, just solid brick-fronted, the kind of place that doesn't try to impress anyone. That's what I wanted. No base housing, no salutes, no chain of command, waiting at the door. Just a place to be a person again. I straightened my jacket out of habit, checked my ribbons without even thinking about it, and grabbed 2 boxes from the back. Books, mostly. Memories. As I walked toward the steps, I noticed the guy across the street mowing his lawn slow down, then stop. Engine off. He stared. Didn't wave, didn't smile, just watched me like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't like the answer to. I clocked it and kept moving. I've been stared at before, comes with the territory. I was halfway up the steps when I heard tires crunch behind me. I turned and saw a black and white patrol SUV easing to a stop behind my vehicle. No lights, no siren, just presence. The window rolled down. "Ma'am, is that your car?" the officer called out. I kept my voice even. "Yes. Government issued. I just moved in." He stepped out slowly, adjusting his belt, one hand hovering close to his holster. Not on it, just close enough to make sure I noticed. He was youngish, mid-30s, maybe clean-cut, buzzed hair, the kind of guy who looks like he believes rules explain everything. "We got a call," he said. "Suspicious activity. Vehicle doesn't match the homeowner registry." There it was, that familiar tightening in my chest. Not fear exactly, more like recognition. "I am the homeowner," I said. "Colonel Rhonda Ellison, U.S. Army." He didn't thank me for my service. Didn't react at all, actually, just stared like he was deciding whether that information was useful. "I'll need to see some ID." I handed him my military ID. He took his time with it, longer than necessary, like he was hoping it would somehow change in his hands. "You got anything with your current address? I just closed last week," I said. "License hasn't been updated yet. Mortgage paperwork is inside if you'd like to see it." He shook his head. "I need you to stay right there." I nodded. "I'm not refusing anything. I'm standing on my porch, at my house." He walked back to his cruiser to run the plates. Federal plates. Plates that don't come back the way local ones do. While he typed, I could feel eyes on me. The neighbor with the mower had crossed his arms. Someone across the street peeked through a curtain. When the officer came back, he tried again, like repetition might change reality. "Let's start over. You said your name was—" "Colonel Ellison," I said, for the 3rd time. "And you don't have proof you live here." "I do. It's inside." "Then why haven't you shown it?" "Because you told me not to move." He frowned, like logic was being uncooperative. "Ma'am, I don't appreciate the tone." That's when something clicked in me. Not anger, yet. Just clarity. "Officer," I said, "what is this really about? I'm in uniform unloading boxes, standing on my porch. Nothing about this is suspicious." He stepped closer. Too close. People fake uniforms all the time. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how absurd it was. You honestly believe someone would impersonate a colonel just to carry boxes into a suburban house? He didn't answer. Instead, his voice got sharper. "Don't go inside." "Is that an order?" "It's a lawful command." I looked him straight in the eye. "You're not my superior, and you have no cause to detain me." He moved to block the door. "You're being detained. For what? Suspicion of trespassing." "Yeah, that happened." The words hung there, ridiculous and heavy at the same time. "You're accusing me of trespassing in my own home," I said. He reached for my arm. Training kicked in before thought. I pulled back. "Do not touch me. That's assault." His jaw tightened. "You're resisting. I'm asserting my rights." That's when I realized this wasn't about procedure anymore. This was about control. And people like him don't let go of control unless something bigger than them forces it. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady as I pulled my phone out of my pocket. "I'm calling the Pentagon," I said. He froze. Not paused. Froze. "What?" In about 30 seconds, I said calmly, "Someone a lot higher up than both of us is going to ask why a colonel in uniform was detained on our own porch." I made the call. One ring. "Colonel Ellison," a familiar voice answered. "This is Captain Hayes." "I'm not okay," I said. "A local officer has detained me without cause at my residence. I need this documented." There was a beat of silence. Then, understood. Location, I gave it. As the conversation continued, I watched the color drain from the officer's face. His radio crackled. Dispatch confirmed my identity. Verified. Active duty. Stand down immediately. He didn't say a word after that. Just stood there suddenly very small while I lowered my phone. "I'm going inside now," I said. That's when another cruiser pulled up. A supervisor stepped out, took one look at me, then at him, and sighed like she already knew how this was going to end. She thanked me for keeping my composure, told me quietly that there had been complaints about him before. Outside in front of the neighbors, she relieved him of duty. Badge, weapon, right there on the curb. The next morning was quiet. I sat on the porch with a cup of coffee, wearing an old army sweatshirt, no rank, no ribbons, just me. The neighborhood felt different, like the air had shifted. The man from across the street walked over, hat in his hands. "I didn't know who you were," he said. "I saw everything. I'm sorry." I nodded. "I'm not here to be a lesson," I told him. "I'm just here to live." And that's where people start to argue, about whether I should have been nicer, quieter, more patient. But here's the truth, and it's not comfortable. Respect that only shows up after proof isn't respect. It's compliance. And sometimes the only way to stop something like that from happening again is to stand your ground even when your knees are shaking, even when you'd rather just unlock the door and disappear inside. So I want to ask you something. Was he doing his job or abusing it? Should I have stayed silent to keep the peace, or spoken up to protect myself and the next person who might not have the resources I did? Think about it. Then tell me what you think. Drop it in the comments. Argue with each other if you need to. Share your own stories. Because these moments don't end when the video does. They're happening every day on porches just like mine. And sooner or later it's someone you know, or it's you.